All right, so we have two cells at the bottom. And last week we went over two main types of cells. We went over prokaryotic cells and we went over eukaryotic cells. So knowing what you know about the two main types of cells, what do you think those are? So Angelina says the first one is prokaryotic, the second one is eukaryotic. Anyone else? What do you see in both of the cells? Do you see a nucleus in both of those cells? Yeah. Do you see organelles in both of those cells? Little tiny organs? What do you guys think? Oops, not yet. We don't know if you see the organelles. So if we see a nucleus, then what type of cell are these? Both of them. What kind of cells have a nucleus? The prokaryotic cells or the eukaryotic cells? What do you guys think? There you go, Angelina. They're both eukaryotic because they both have nucleus. They both have organelles. So they're both eukaryotic. And then number two, what are the mini organs called? I just said it like 3 times. We went over that last week. What are the mini organs inside called? They each have a different function. Good, Shayla, organelles. Yep. And then what differences can you see between these two cells? Just general differences. What do you guys see? Shape, the shape's different. One's round, one's square. Color. Color's different. Good, Desiree. Good, that's fine. Shape and color are different. And there's a reason that the one on the right is green. We'll talk about it. All right. Essential question. All living things are made of cells. We established that last week with the cell theory and everything else. But what are cells made of? So we are made of cells, but you can actually go inside of our cells to see what's inside because they're not hollow. There's a bunch of stuff in there. So eukaryotic cells share many similarities. Again, our word eukaryotic, eu means true, karyo means nucleus. These are the cells with a true nucleus. And no matter what organism they come from, if it is a eukaryotic cell, they have a lot of stuff in common, mainly all of the organelles. So organelles, to review, are many organs found in eukaryotic cells. They can look many different ways in many different pictures, but in general, they're going to have some stuff in common. The cytoskeleton is your first organelle, and it does the exact same thing that our skeleton does for us. It gives the cell shape, support, and strength. And that is exactly what our skeleton inside of us does for humans. It gives us shape. We sit up straight because we have a spine. It gives us support and strength. Our muscles are attached to our bones. And our muscles is how we have strength. The nucleus. This is also a review from last week. Stores and protects DNA, carries instructions to make proteins. It is known as the brain of the cell because it directs cell's activities, tells the cell what to do, where to go, when to do it. You can see in the picture the nucleus has little pores or holes because some things do go in and out of the nucleus. And then you can also see if you crack open the nucleus, you have a little darker part inside. And that is the nucleolus. Found inside the nucleus, and it's the place where ribosomes are made. So in every picture of the cell that you guys will see, you guys will have to pick it out. You have the nucleus in the center that's bigger, but then in the middle, you have the nucleolus. You guys have to distinguish between the two when you pick out the parts of the cell. And also the different functions. This is where ribosomes are made. That's its job, that's its function. The rough endoplasmic reticulum. That is a mouthful, so we abbreviate it to rough ER. And we call it rough because it has little dots all over it. And the little dots are ribosomes. And its job is to process proteins. Ribosomes is where the proteins are made. And they send the proteins to the rough ER for the proteins to be processed. Like I said, it looks rough because there's a bunch of little dots all over it. Those dots are the ribosomes. Attached to that is the smooth ER. It looks smooth because it doesn't have dots. Its job is to break down toxins like drugs and alcohol. It also makes lipids, one of our 4 main macromolecules that we're made of. I don't know, Shayla, if I glitched or you got kicked out. I can't tell if you got kicked out. Ribosomes, all those little dots all over. So they're found either floating free in the cell or attached to the rough ER. Drugs like pills, yeah, Eric. Pills or just like regular medicine too, Tylenol, Advil, or any other drugs or alcohol. That's where they're processed in the smooth ER. Ribosomes is a place where proteins are made. Another word for made is synthesized. So the process is called protein synthesis. It happens in the ribosomes. And like I said, it can be stuck on the rough ER, or they can just be floating free in the cytoplasm. The Golgi apparatus, also sometimes called the Golgi complex. It sorts, packages, and delivers proteins. So the proteins get made in the ribosomes, they get processed in the rough ER, and then they're sent to the Golgi apparatus, where they get sorted out either by function or by location or place it's supposed to go. It gets packaged up in a vesicle, which we're going to talk about next, and sent off to wherever it needs to go. So we call this the post office or even UPS because that's what a post office does. Sorts and packages and sends off mail. Vesicles carry molecules where they need to go inside of a cell. It's like the taxi or an Uber. The Golgi apparatus will sort and package these proteins, and then the package is a vesicle. The vesicle will take it from place to place, wherever it needs to go. Mitochondria. There's another CH that sounds like a K. In our science words, we don't say CH like normal CH. We say mitochondria like a K sound. It supplies energy to the cell. It's the place where a process called cell respiration happens. It's like the power plant, gives us energy. Our muscle cells, where we use a lot of energy, have a lot of mitochondria in it. Your heart cells, your heart has to beat all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your entire life. It needs a lot of energy, so there's a lot of mitochondria in your heart cells and your heart muscle. And we'll talk a lot more about cell respiration in chapter 4. Vacuoles. This is for the storage of materials. So vesicles are like a taxi. Vacuoles are for storage, like a garage or an attic. And both plant and animal cells have vacuoles, but they're a little different in each. Plant cells have one big central vacuole in the middle of the cell. It takes up a lot of space in the cell. Animals have smaller vacuoles all over. Lysosomes. A lysosome digests old cell parts, kind of like your stomach has digestive enzymes to destroy things. It also attacks bacteria and viruses. So lysosomes serve to protect the cell, get rid of anything that is either old or broken or isn't supposed to be there. Centrioles form cilia and flagella to help cells move. A flagella is like a tail, like when you think of a sperm cell, it has a tail, that's a flagella. And then cilia are like little hairs all over an amoeba or paramecium that help it swim through water it lives in. It also has a role in cell division. When the cell splits in two, the centrioles have a role. And cell division we'll talk about when we get to chapter 5. The cell wall is an extra layer of protection outside the cell membrane that is found in plant cells. It's also found in some bacterial cells, but we're talking about eukaryotic cells this section. And you can see in the picture little green dots, which we'll talk about the next slide. And then the cells are also kind of square shaped and they're also green. Those are your plant cells. Not all plants are green, I know, but most plants are green. So that's what their cells are going to look like. Chloroplasts. Those are the little green dots we just saw in the picture. And here's another science word where we don't say the CH, we say it like a K. Chloroplast. It's the place where photosynthesis happens. Everybody's heard of photosynthesis. We know plants take sunlight and make their own food. That's what this process is called. Happens in the chloroplast. When we get to chapter 4, it's about photosynthesis and cell respiration, so we'll go more into detail then. And again, these are only found in plant cells because us as animals, we don't do photosynthesis.
I have a question. I'm sorry. I was doing my quiz yesterday, the check for understanding, and I was like, these questions are really difficult. Like, I don't understand them.
That's because we hadn't gone over the notes yet. You're not supposed to do the quiz before we do the notes.
No, yeah, I know. I did the wrong quiz.
Oh, you did the wrong quiz.
And I turned in my notes on the wrong tab.
Okay. So fix it. We'll talk about it after.
Do it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And the cell membrane. Again, this should be review. We talked about this last week also. Also called the plasma membrane. Separates the cells inside from the outside. It regulates what goes in and out of the cell. It's not solid. It lets some things in and some things out. It's found in all kinds of cells, plant, animal, prokaryotic, eukaryotic. All cells will have a cell membrane. And its nickname can be skin. It's found on the outside. It's a layer of protection. Keeps everything held in. We don't want our muscles and stuff falling out, so we have our skin there to keep it in. And the cytoplasm, jelly-like material that holds all of the other organelles in place, also found in all cells, no matter what type they are. In the picture, you have the nucleus and all the organelles, and then that blue background is the cytoplasm, all the filler in between.